From the 4-point position, what I want to do is go a little bit on the side of my opponent, more like going toward north-south position. And with my left hand, I'm going to hold my opponent's belt and put the rest of my body on top of his back to avoid for him to move. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring one of my legs on top of his head and I'm going to push his head down, forcing him to flip over. On the other side, when my opponent lands, I want to trap his arm with my legs. But if I can't, I'm holding his arm anyways, so that way he cannot get on his knees. And I adjust for side control. From the 4-point position, I'm going to control my opponent's belt with my hand and put the rest of my arm on his back. Then I'm going to control his arm. At this point in time, I lift one of my legs and my other leg is going to go on top of his head. Putting pressure on the back of his head, I'm going to force my opponent over for the sweep, and then I go to side control. From the hooks guard, I'm going to make sure that I control my opponent's arm. So what I do, I pull his arm to the side and I come really close to him. My head goes to his chest and I hug his back. And then I'm going to let go of his arm and I'm going to come a little closer to him. I go to my side. I laid over my side and holding his leg, hugging his leg. I switch my base and I sweep my opponent to the other side. And then up and side control. From the hooks guard or butterfly guard with a cross grip, I'm going to control my opponent's arm. When I pull my opponent's arm to the side toward me, I'm going to hug his back and then I'm going to lay it over to my side. I'm going to hug my opponent's leg and I switch my hip from one side to the other, sweeping my opponent onto the other side. From the butterfly guard, I'm going to control my opponent's arm cross grip. And then with my other hand, I'm going to come under his arm and control his gi lapel. And then I'm going to come underneath my opponent's arm, the one that I'm controlling, faking that I'm going to sweep him with a hook sweep. And I'm going to keep going under his arm until I force my opponent over. From the hooks guard or butterfly guard, I'm going to control my opponent's arm, cross grip, and my other hand is going to come under his arm and control his gi lapel. I'm going to fake a hook sweep at this point in time, but at the same time I'm going to go under my opponent's arm, forcing him to roll over for the sweep and then up on side control. Because of the way I'm turning under my opponent's arm, I will put pressure on his shoulder. This next technique is a variation from the last technique. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to control my opponent's arm and I'm going to try to sweep him with a hook sweep. And when I try to go under his arm, my opponent comes and jumps on top of me like if he wants to mount. The main thing for me is to control his leg with my free hand. And once I do that, I post myself with both feet on the mat and I keep sweeping him. And then up and side control. Okay, this is a variation from the last technique. I control my opponent's arm, I grab his gi lapel, and when I try to sweep him, at the time when I go to under my opponent's arm, he jumps and tries to mount me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to control his foot, I'm on a base, both feet on the mat, I'm going to bridge, keep sweeping my opponent, and then up and side control.